Okay, so as the thyroid stimulating hormone will be secreted from pituitary, it will activate the formation of thyroxine, it will stimulate the formation of thyroxine, and thyroxine will increase the basal metabolic rate, and the basal metabolic rate will, or the thyroxine level comes to the required level. Now this is known as what? Positive feedback mechanism. Now coming to the negative feedback mechanism, in which if the level of hormone is already high, if the level of hormone is already high, then we have to send the message to hypothalamus. The message goes to hypothalamus. The hypothalamus, it secretes inhibitory hormones, and as the inhibitory hormones will be secreted, the TSH will not, the pituitary will not be get activated, the TSH will not be secreted. As the TSH will not be secreted, the thyroxine will not be released, and the level of thyroxine will come to the optimum or required level. Now coming to the diseases, first we come to the simple goiter. Simple goiter is because of the deficiency of iodine. Iodine, if it is deficient in the water, exactly speaking, when we talk about the hilly areas, the minerals like iodine is not sufficiently found in water, and that's why the drinking water is lack of iodine. It is having lack of iodine, and because of this deficiency of iodine, the person suffer from simple goiter. In goiter, what happens? The gland, it swells, the thyroid follicles, it increases the size, the cells undergoes what we can say hypertrophy. Why? Because to secrete more amount of hormone, the gland increases its size, but the gland doesn't know that hormone cannot be processed because iodine is not there. So that is what simple goiter. There are other goiters also, like exophthalmic goiter, toxic goiter, endophthalmic goiter. Exophthalmic goiter, it means when the BMR level is high, mean the thyroxine level is high. As the BMR will be high, the fat will be decomposed, or fat will be processed to form what? Energy. And as fat will be dissolved to form energy, what happens? The orbital fat, it dissolves, this fat, okay, this fat. So this fat will be dissolved and the eyeballs will get protruded, and that's why it is known as what? Exophthalmic goiter. Then in case of hypothyroidism, endophthalmic goiter, the orbital fat will be started, it will be increased, okay, so the eyeballs get intruded, we feel like, okay, so that says endophthalmic goiter. Then there are much more diseases like myxedema, like cretinism. They are the disorders of what? Thyroxine only. They are the disorders related to the thyroid gland only, okay. Now the other glands like pituitary glands, like gonads, like testes and ovary, so these glands we will be discussing in the next videos. Thank you guys for supporting me, for supporting my channel. If you like, please subscribe and please share. Thank you. Hormone and the thyroid stimulating hormone. Okay, we'll take a gross look. Pituitary, it is known as master of orchestra, as I have already discussed in the previous lectures, that pituitary controls all the glands of the body. So it is known as what? Master of orchestra. Okay, this pituitary gland, it controls all the functions of different types of glands. Okay, for example, pituitary itself secretes the anterior lobe of the pituitary, it secretes what? It secretes growth hormone. And this growth hormone, it basically enhances the physical as well as the mental growth of the children's or of the human beings. So this growth hormone, also known as GH, growth hormone, or somatocrinin. So this growth hormone or somatocrinin helps to enhance, helps to facilitate the growth, the physical growth and the mental growth. The growth hormone, it functions on the bones and on the soft tissues. It increases the length of the bones, it mineralizes the bone so that bones becomes hard, stiff. It increases the rate of cell division in the soft tissues. So overall, when the soft tissues, it includes skin, it includes connective tissues, all the muscles, ligaments, tendons, they increase their size. Bones, they increase their size. I mean, the gross total, the skeletal framework of the human, skeletal framework of the person, it increases. Now coming to the next, when we talk about the growth hormone or the somatorenin, its function on the bones, one thing I want to tell you, especially when we talk about the NTSC exams and for the JSO exams, so growth of the bone, it always, the growth of the bone, it always occurs, or it always starts near the ends from the middle near the ends. Okay, so bone, it is having two parts. This is epiphysis, this is metaphysis. So this metaphysis grows, the overall the length of the bone increases. So the metaphysis grows, the overall length of the bone increases, and hence we have long bones, short bones, depending upon their duration of mineralization, depending upon their function, depending upon the purpose in the body. Okay, so growth hormone in general, it increases the physical and mental growth. Now along with growth hormone, one more hormone, that is thyroid hormone, thyroxine. The thyroxine hormone and growth hormone, they function together, as we have discussed in the last lecture, synergistic hormones which functions together to perform their optimum function. Okay, now we are coming to the we will discuss a short regarding the hormones of pituitary which are secreted, what they exactly do. Okay, so if one thing we have to discuss more when we're discussing about the functions of hormones and all, if the level of the hormone in the blood, it increases or decreases, it is known as hypersecretion and hyposecretion. The hypersecretion leads to some kind of problems, hyposecretion leads to some kind of problems. Okay, so the hypersecretion in case of growth hormone, the growth will increase. Okay, so during the growth period, if we talk about for humans, the growth period is 28 years, about 28 to 30 years. The bones are not fused. See, when the bones, they are fused, now we cannot increase the length of the bones because they are fused. They become permanent. So bone is having a specialized structure known as epiphyseal plates. When these epiphyseal plates, they close, like we are having two bones here, the epiphyseal plate of this and the epiphyseal plate of this, it closes. When it closes, there can be no deposition of calcium and phosphorus salts or different types of organic hydroxyapatite crystals in between these bones. So we cannot mineralize them further, we cannot increase the length. So in case if the growth period is not attained, we are having the gap, bones can be increased, their length can be increased. So the condition is known to be what? The length increases as the hypersecretion is there. The condition is known as what? Gigantism. It is known as gigantism. And if the epiphyseal plates are closed, there is no option to increase the length of the bones, there is no option to increase the soft tissues as the growth period is already attained. For example, if we take a person of 60 years, so the normal growth pattern would not be seen in a person of 60 years. So in case of 60 years person, the condition is known to be acromegaly, the abnormal deposition of, or we can say the abnormal deposition of bone, or the abnormal mineralization of bone, hypermineralization of bone, which causes bone to be deposited on the joints, okay. So the bone deposited on the joints like this, here. Okay, soft tissues, they sag down, they become too loose, they sag down, and the condition is known as what? Acromegaly. Okay, So gigantism and acromegaly from hypersecretion. Now coming to hyposecretion, the hyposecretion leads to what? Dwarfism. So simple. It leads to dwarfism, stunted growth. Stunted growth as well as the mental growth can also be less. Okay friends. Now coming to the next. If we talk about thyroid, we have discussed the diseases or the disorders, hormone, hyper. Okay, so I will make you revise the deficiency of the hypersecretion and the hyposecretion of thyroid hormones also. Like we are having hyperthyroidism, and hypothyroidism. Hyperthyroidism means increase in the blood level of thyroxine. So hyperthyroidism leads to different types of diseases in case of thyroid gland in relation to thyroid gland, like for example Hashimoto's disease, for example Graves' disease. Okay, so all these diseases are because of hyperthyroidism. Now hypothyroidism, it is the deficient secretion, or it is the inadequate secretion of thyroxine in the blood, which leads to myxedema and cretinism. Okay, myxedema in case of adults and cretinism in case of children's, and myxedema in case of adults. Cretinism and myxedema, they probably show commonly they show almost symptoms which are same. Like for example, in hypothyroidism, what happens? The BMR gets down. As the BMR gets down, the fat deposition on the body increases. As the fat deposition increases, the muscular activities decreases, the heart rate decreases, the respiratory rate decreases, the temperature becomes low. Okay, these all are the symptoms of hypothyroidism. Okay, and in vice versa we go for hyperthyroidism. Okay, the myxedema and cretinism, they are the conditions related to hypothyroidism. And hyperthyroidism, we are having that toxic goiter, or known as Graves' disease, or exophthalmic goiter, and again related to Hashimoto's disease. Okay, now coming next, thyroid, it is having two types of cells in it. One is the follicles, the thyroid follicles, and the other cells are the parafollicular cells, or the C cells. The C cells of thyroid, or the parafollicular cells, they secretes what? They secretes thyrocalcitonin. The thyrocalcitonin, it basically helps in the maintaining of the metabolic concentration of calcium in the blood. So what exactly thyrocalcitonin do? The thyrocalcitonin decreases the secretion or decreases the excretion of sodium and potassium, calcium and phosphorus. It decreases the excretion of calcium and phosphorus through in the form of urine. It increases the level of calcium and phosphorus in the bone, on the bone. The thyrocalcitonin, it increases the mineralization of bone. Okay, so for example, if the level of thyroid or if we are having hyperthyroidism or hypothyroidism, both the levels of both the hormones will be simultaneously goes down or simultaneously goes up. So the thyroid related disorders, they are not only related with the inadequate or excessive secretion of what? Thyroxine. They are also related with the inadequate or excessive secretion of thyrocalcitonin. Okay, the thyroxine we are having, thyrocalcitonin we are having. Thyroxine, BMR controller, thyrocalcitonin, it controls the calcium and phosphorus salts. It increases the calcium phosphorus salts to be deposited on bone, become strong, and decreases their excretion. Now coming to the next, we are having parathyroid gland. The parathyroid gland, it secretes parathormone. It secretes what? Parathormone. The parathyroid gland, it secretes parathormone. The parathormone, its functions are just antagonistic to thyroid hormones. Its functions are just antagonistic. For example, the parathormone or the parathyroid gland, it basically it increases the blood calcium and phosphorus level. Blood calcium and phosphorus. It decreases the bone calcium level. It decreases the bone calcium. That is, it allows them to excrete more in the form of urine. Okay, so the parathormone is related to these functions, and these functions are just antagonistic to thyrocalcitonin. Antagonistic means just opposite. Okay, so if the deficiency of this hormone, like hypoparathyroidism leads to decrease the level of hormone. As the level of hormone decreases, now hormone is doing what exactly? It increasing the blood calcium level, okay, and blood phosphorus level, okay. Mean it will lead to the formation of stones in the kidneys and different types of body parts like ureters and all. Okay, so if the hyposecretion is there, then what happens? The bone calcium level will be increased and the blood calcium level will be decreased. The bone calcium level will be increased and the blood calcium level will be decreased. As the blood calcium level will be decreased, calcium is necessary for the contraction and relaxation of muscles, whether they are voluntary muscles or whether they are involuntary muscles. The muscles, they won't coordinate with brain because they are having less amount of calcium ion to contract the contractile proteins, and specifically the ATP binding site where the calcium attaches. Okay, so there the calcium is less sufficient or it is inadequate, so calcium won't bind, and the muscles, they if contract, then the calcium is not present, so the calcium binding site or the calmodulin protein won't be relaxed, and if it won't be relaxed, the muscles, they do not regain their original position again. So this is known as what? Muscle lock. And we are having what? The lock jaws, they are known as what? Lock jaws, or we are having tetany. We are having, the scientific term is tetany. So the hypoparathyroidism leads to tetany, and the hyperparathyroidism mean they increases the blood calcium level. As the blood calcium level increases, first the stones will be formed in ureters and all. Okay, and the other, osteitis fibrosis cystia is a condition in which the bones become weak, they becomes flexible because they are having less amount of calcium and phosphorus as the level of parathormone increases in the blood. So in case of parathormone disorders, the parathormone related disorders are, first the tetany from hypoparathyroidism, tetany, and hyperparathyroidism, osteitis fibrosis. Okay, this was parathyroid gland. Now coming to the next topic, that is pancreas. Pancreas is a dual gland, exocrine as well as endocrine function. It is having acinar cells as well as para-acinar cells. The acinar cells, they are related with some other function. Para-acinar cells, they are related with some other functions. Okay, so coming to the acinar cells, they perform or they secrete the hormones, mean they are having hormonal functions. For example, they are having three types of group of cells, and these group of cells are known as islets of Langerhans. Langerhans. Apologies for the spelling mistakes. So, islets of Langerhans. These islets of Langerhans, basically they are divided into alpha, beta and delta cells or gamma cells. Alpha islets of Langerhans, beta cells of islets of Langerhans and gamma or delta cells of islets of Langerhans. These islets of Langerhans, they basically control the different types of metabolic functions in body. For example, the alpha islets of Langerhans, they secretes what? Glucagon. The glucagon, which increases the blood sugar level. How? It converts glycogen into glucose. Beta islets of Langerhans, they secrete what? Insulin. Insulin do what? It decreases the blood sugar level. It converts glucose into glycogen. It converts the excessive glucose into glycogen. And somatostatin, it is having a function like, it is also known as insulin-like growth factor. The functions yet not revealed properly, and they are not suitable for your syllabus actually. So this somatostatin is having somewhat function with the growth, okay, but its function and the function of growth hormone, they are not same, they are somewhat different functions, okay. So glucagon, insulin and this insulin-like growth factor or somatostatin. Okay, so these are the secretions of pituitary gland. Other than pituitary secretes the pancreatic juices and all that comes in exocrine functions. Okay, now coming to the next, that is the disorders related with this. Now coming to the disorders related with, for example, we are having insulin